All right. All right. So the first course, the first dish we're going to do, and Bo mentioned the kind of concept, is revolving around funky and fermented. Okay? Funky and fermented, we did a couple things with this shrimp burger. So we took the idea of a burger, Beyond Burger, and we created a shrimp burger. So you can see here, and this is going to be kind of a speed demo so that you get a chance to try this. Right here I have a raw shrimp burger, and then I kind of grilled it in a griddle. And I prepared it by taking shrimp, two kinds of shrimp. Fresh pink Florida shrimp, farm-raised, wild-caught, and then some farm-raised shrimp. And I added some white bread and some cream to make a traditional panada for the chefs that are out there. Panada is a binder. And then I also added a little bit of red pepper and some cilantro and our shrimp paste. So our custom culinary shrimp base. And I took this and I pureed it all in a food processor. I grilled some shrimp and smoked the shrimp and diced it and folded that in to create a nice burger. We cooked them in the oven, and what I did was I took a brioche bun, and this is going to be kind of a slider version of it. We took a brioche bun. We then took our latest and greatest innovation, our kimchi concentrate. It's a powder mix that you can add to anything and get an overnight fermentation flavor profile out of it. So I used it for some Napa cabbage to make a kind of a kimchi cabbage slaw that's going to go on this. I also used it in a tartar sauce, so I made a kimchi tartar. So this build's going to have a kimchi tartar sauce, the shrimp burger, then brushed with our Korean barbecue sauce. So just straight right out of the bag, Korean barbecue sauce on top of that shrimp burger. And then we garnished it with a little of that fermented cabbage and some fried shiitake mushrooms to make a really, really kind of a umptious a burger. So we got the combination of the smoke in the burger itself, a little bit of fermentation in the cabbage, and then you also have that Korean barbecue sauce as well on top, correct, Chef? All right, so now we're going to pass these out. So I formed these cakes with the mousseline, we call, right, the pureed shrimp and the shrimp paste to give it a little bit of flavor. And then I actually diced up the grilled shrimp, folded it in there, and cooked them. I assembled the tartar sauce. I made a scratch tartar with our kimchi rub. And then I took the slaw, the cabbage, and fermented it overnight with our kimchi fermentation powder to give it a little bit of a zip. So you get the sweetness from the Korean barbecue. You get the kind of acid from the fermentation from the kimchi. You get a little zing from the tartar and a little bit of smoke in there on the slider. So this is the first one that's going out. All right. And it kind of ties into a couple different trends, but I think it works well with the Beyond Burger, funky and fermented. Tug, who's my great resource here at Miller & Associates, took this Alto-Shaam combi oven and we cold smoked some of the shrimp, and we're going to do that with some salmon later too. We just put a pan of ice in there at a low temperature and smoked it for about 20 minutes and then folded it into this burger. But again, these are just fun ideas kind of around our concepts and a vehicle and a platform for you to taste this sauce. It's by no way an item that would maybe work for everybody. I think it's an item that might work for some folks, but really it's about generating the idea. So I'm going to build this hero plate while we're passing out the actual burger itself. And I had a little bit of the fried shiitake, a little bit of the fermented cabbage. And I'll set this over here. I've got some fermented and pickled okra. And I'm just going to set that up there if you want to come up here later and kind of take a look at it as an example. kind of a hero plate. Everybody hear me okay? Perfect. So take a bite. There's a lot of crazy fun flavors going on there, right? You get the barbecue, you get the kimchi flavor in the slaw, you get the kimchi tartar, you get a little bit of smoke, light smoke in the burger itself. So there you go. That's our first dish. Take your time, and feel free to ask questions. Again, if afterwards or even during, if there's anything specific you want to know or ask about some of these sauces as we present them, feel free to ask us. We're kind of really keying in on Korean flavors and Latin flavors here, so you get a little bit of both in 4 of these dishes we're going to do. A little bit of the umami from the mushroom. Any thoughts? So I actually just griddled them on a flat griddle and then finished them in the oven for about 5 minutes. Yep. There's a little bit of egg white in the binder, so it kind of puffs them up a little bit and gives them a little bit a lighter, instead of being really, really dense. I think it has good flavor. I like them. Okay. All right. So this is going to be like speed eating here, and don't feel obligated to have to eat every bite of everything. So while we plate up the next course, let's talk about this. One of my favorites, cowboy cuisine. All right, and we used a couple different products in this application. We started with a rub, and I'm going to kind of clean up my first demo here. Yep, plate them up. Cowboy cuisine is really popular. Chuck wagon cowboy. I mean, a lot of it is based on the cuts of meat, but I think the rubs really enhance kind of that concept. We made a coffee rub. Okay, so I took a traditional rub, added some coffee to it, and also a little bit of ancho. All right, took some flat iron and took a little bit of our Custom Culinary liquid concentrated broth, which is a very clean ingredient that's just added to water to be concentrated, or you can use it as is as a glaze. It also works great as a topical on meat. So I used a little bit of this beef concentrate along with our ancho paste, the Custom Culinary ancho paste. So I mixed that together and kind of made a little bit of a wet rub on the flat iron. And then I added my coffee and ancho rub, and we just grilled the flat iron. So we had a nice kind of overnight marinade. We grilled the flat iron medium rare, and then sliced it. So we're going to serve that dish, that flat iron that we prepared with the coffee rub and the ancho paste and the beef base. And we used a couple other things as well. We used our new mole sauce. So we do a really, really beautiful, authentic, very authentic mole that has really, really deep smoky guajillo chili, medium spice level flavor profiles that can be used in a lot of different applications. So if you're a mole fan or you are an expert on mole, which you might be, because there's a real art to making mole, especially kind of a traditional Oaxacan mole. I'd love to get your feedback on it because I love this product. Along with that, we are serving these corn cakes that I prepared, and I did them kind of a lotes style. So I took corn, grilled it, shucked it, added it into a batter that I prepared with a cornmeal batter, and then we also added a little mayonnaise in there, some tahini spice in there, and some cayenne pepper, and all the things that you would find on elotes, which is traditional Mexican street corn, and a little cojito cheese into the cake, and then just made basically little corn griddle cakes. That's going to be on the base of our cowboy flat iron that we rubbed with the ancho and the coffee. So I made these cakes ahead of time, and then we warmed them up. This is also another example of our capabilities. Although I made these cakes from scratch and used some of our product in the cakes itself, we do have the ability to make batters. We've made all kinds of batters. We've made spoon bread batters. We can make cornbread batters. We make a couple different kinds of batters for hush puppy type style batters that are just scoop and ready to use. So this elotes cake idea can be something that we could make in a pouch and ship to you, and all you have to do is throw it on a griddle right out of the bag with the particulates and everything in there. So the cakes, a couple of the cakes, we grilled off some of this flat iron, and we're just going to place it on our plate like this. This one's a little medium rare, a little on the rare side, but this is for a demo. Yours is going to be a little more medium rare. With that, we've got our mole sauce, and that was just kind of drizzled on there. So our mole, and then we took some roasted, oven roasted tomatoes on there. We caramelized some red and green peppers and sauteed them with a little bit of our custom culinary vegetable base that I'm going to show you in a bit. And then a little salad on top of just some cilantro and some pickled, quick pickled radish. We also make a really nice pickling rub that we use, and we just kind of did a quick pickle on the radish. So there's our cowboy ancho crusted flat iron on a elotes corn cake with the vegetables, and then also a little bit of cilantro and radish on top. But I think the idea of the mole with the corn cake, I really like the corn cake idea. I tried to replicate that flavor profile when you're biting into a fresh summer piece of ear of sweet corn with the mayonnaise and the cajito cheese and a little bit of cayenne or tahini spice on there and a fresh squeeze of lime on it. So taste the rub. I want you to really kind of get the rub, but I also want you to taste the mole sauce with it as well, and give us your honest feedback. I mean, I'm very proud of these sauces that we developed because we did utilize our global resources. Custom Culinary has innovation kitchens in a lot of parts of the world, all over Asia, in Mexico City, and my counterparts, our chefs in these countries, were really the resource that we used to develop these flavors, so they're authentic as they can be. And I know mole is often one of those sometimes intimidated sauces, but I think with this dish it goes well, and it fits right into rolls right into the concept. If there's any big mole fans out there, I'd be curious to see if we did an okay job with it. So I think we did. Just some oven roasted tomatoes, and then the cakes. So that's the cowboy flat iron. All right. Now let's go into the next one. We're good on time. All right, let's go into the next one, which is another one that I really love. And this one's fun. This is a chorizo crusted salmon. Thank you. And I want to show you what I did with the chorizo. And I think I have some in here. So I'm using this for something else, but I cooked chorizo. You can get cooked chorizo. And I toasted panko breadcrumbs, and I dried the chorizo overnight, and then I blended them in with the breadcrumbs. So what I have here, can everybody see that, is a chorizo panko crumb or crust. So I'm using this as my coating on my salmon dish. So it has a really, really nice flavor. You get that chorizo, those flavors from the chorizo in with the breadcrumbs, and it gives you a nice little breading. And the way I am going to adhere it to the salmon is a mayonnaise. So I use mayonnaise instead of an egg wash, which is great to do because you don't have to deal with cracked eggs and cross-contamination and the whole breading process by using mayonnaise, which is basically eggs and oil, to coat your salmon with. and then I just press it right into the to the crumb and the coating. So I'm going to take my tray of mise en place over here. And I'll show you how we did this. The nice thing about this is it can be done ahead of time. So it's as simple as your salmon that we cold smoked. Again, with Tug's help and the combi oven here, we cold smoked the salmon for about 20 minutes on a low temperature with ice in the combi oven. When it was done, it firms up perfectly. It's not overcooked, it's not undercooked, it's smoked, it's not cured, has a really nice smoke flavor, but it's not dry at all. Then we took the salmon, it got cold because we took it out of the smoker yesterday and let it set overnight. So this morning, here's what I have, this beautiful smoked salmon that's still kind of medium rare, I guess you would say, right? Yeah, even, but firm enough to be able to manage and deal with. So I just very easily took some mayonnaise, and again, you can season this mayonnaise with whatever you want. You could add some kind of a seafood base to it if you wanted, a flavored mayonnaise, or you could add a little bit of, if it's chicken, I add our liquid chicken concentrated base in the mayonnaise to do any kind of dish that's chicken related, whether it's hot or cold dish. If I'm making chicken salad, for example, I take mayonnaise and add our liquid concentrated chicken base into the mayonnaise and then use that to make my chicken salad, and it really, really knocks the chicken salad out of the park. I mean, it really screams chicken. So I just took a little bit of mayonnaise and squirt it right on the fish like this. All right, and then I just, so much easier than having to go through that whole breading process. The other thing I like about this is I only do one side, so it's not completely, you know, it cuts down on a complete breading system. You just have the breading just for the texture and the flavor on one side. And then I just pressed it right into the breadcrumbs like that with the chorizo. And now I have a smoked salmon with the chorizo breading on top, secured completely by the mayonnaise, which is nice. And it just gets flashed in the oven for about 5 minutes and served. So as soon as it comes out of the oven here in a minute or so, we're going to serve this dish. So along with that chorizo crusted salmon, I did a couple other things. I made achiote rice, so like a traditional yellow rice. We roasted some poblanos. I added some of our vegetable base in there into the rice mix with some achiote. I made a nice yellow rice, and I'll put that here on the bottom of the bowl, with roasted poblano peppers for a little more smokiness of the peppers. And then I also took our product. This is one of my favorite products. It's been around for a while, but it's so multi-use. It's one of our home run sauces. This is our Latin citrus chili sauce. I'm using it as a vinaigrette. So we warmed it up. We didn't do anything at all to it, just straight Latin citrus chili sauce, and use it as a vinaigrette that we're going to use as our sauce on this chorizo crusted salmon. So you could add more vinegar to it. I don't think it needs it. You could add fresh lime juice to it. I don't think it really needs it. I think the citrus in the sauce is bright enough, and those Latin kind of flavors in there. It's like an all-purpose sauce. It can be used in any kind of protein. It can be brushed on for burgers. It can be brushed on for chicken. For grilled chicken sandwiches, for example, it's delicious. It's great in pork. It's great as a marinade on pork. It's great as a marinade on chicken. It's great. I'm going to use it for fish here. And then I also just have some fresh cilantro and a little bit of tahini. I actually put a little tahini seasoning in with the breadcrumbs as well. Just a little background note. So if I were to now finish this salmon in the oven, and this can all be pre-breaded ahead of time and done ahead of time. With the cold smoking process, it really speeds up the whole finishing process of it. So how are we doing, guys? Okay?
Couple guys.
Gotcha. All right, so Chef Mano is plating them up here. I love this. Anybody have a chance to see vector ovens, the Alto-Shaam vector ovens here? And if you're interested on a little bit more insight to it, Tug's here as well. These ovens are amazing. We have the half sheet pan version and the full sheet pan version. Just a quick QVC commercial for you, Tug, for the Alto-Shaam vector oven.
All different temperatures.
You know, we use the smoker too, but we also use these vector ovens. There's 3 shelves in these vector ovens, and all 3 shelves can be programmed at different temperatures. So I have the top shelf at 375, the bottom one at 350, and the lower one at 325. You can cook 3 different temperatures in the same oven at the same time, which is really, really cool. And it cooks fast. So we literally cook this salmon in less than 5 minutes. Already crusted, all ready to go. Put it in the vector oven. I'll be expecting that royalty check in the mail from Alto-Shaam here. And then we warmed up our Latin citrus chili sauce and used it as a vinaigrette. I don't think there's anything wrong with calling it a vinaigrette. It's got some acid notes in it. It's got a little bit of oil in it. It's got all the flavor profiles you want. It's got the citrus in it. So on top of the echayote rice, and then we're going to garnish with the Latin citrus vinaigrette, which really kind of adds a nice brightness and a lightness to it. We're going to garnish it with some tomatoes, some fresh cherry tomatoes for color. We'll put a little fresh cilantro. So it's a very simple dish. I mean, the build on this dish literally is just a couple different things, but it's so, I think, so flavorful with the smoke from the salmon and then the citrus that kind of cuts through the fattiness of the salmon and the brightness and the lightness of the sauce. And then that chorizo crusted too. And you can do this with any kind of protein if you want to do the chorizo crust, not just fish. But there you have our chorizo crusted smoked salmon with our Latin citrus chili vinaigrette and our echayote rice and some fresh herbs on top. One of my favorite sauces that we have. I'm gonna put this one up here because if you have not had a chance to use that sauce in any applications, I know a bunch of you have. But you know, when I live in Michigan now, and Michigan's one of those pot legal states, I guess, and apparently my neighbor's a grower, so sometimes it wafts across the road, and I come up with these crazy ideas. But I'm not blaming that on myself. I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but you know, sometimes chefs got to be creative, right? So, what do you think on the salmon? Get the smoky flavor? Yep. Good stuff. Okay, and then I got one more dish, and then we'll put out, like Bo mentioned earlier, our kind of a version of a banh mi, where we did a bulgogi, a marinade on some skirt steak, and we're going to make banh mi's out of it. And then we have a really, really great sweet heat Korean barbecue sauce that we're doing on some fried wings and a couple fun desserts I'll talk about here in a minute. So the last course, you get the chorizo flavor, the breading, kind of a unique, different idea. Yeah.
Super creative.
Hopefully when we do these things, because it's always intimidating when you have a room full of seasoned experts in operations in the field, and I'm sure you guys live this stuff every day, to come up with one or two things that's like, wow, I never saw that before. So that's getting harder and harder to do every day, I think, right? So the last one is our vegetarian version, our wholesome, new wholesome kind of spin on things. And this is a fun one. I actually created this idea for this dish a couple years ago when I was trying to build a miso glazed salmon or a miso glazed sea bass platform, and I wanted to serve the sea bass with a broth sauce rather than a heavy sauce. So I was thinking, how could I get the sea bass, the miso glazed sea bass, to sit up in a kind of a bowl presentation with broth without it being completely submerged in it. So I needed some kind of a platform to set up the fish so that it had some height when we served it. And I came up with this idea by using ancient grains. I used farro and a melange of grilled vegetables. So we took some zucchini, some peppers, some yellow squash. We grilled them off. We took the farro, we cooked the farro in our mushroom base, in our custom culinary mushroom base, and then folded it when it was cold into these diced melange of vegetables and added a bit of our liquid vegetable concentrate to it to season it, a liquid seasoning basically. And then we rolled it up in a blanched bok choy leaf to make like a cannelloni. So what we did was we made this bok choy cannelloni with the farro and the vegetable melange, and then we're serving it with our Thai vegetable broth. So this is a broth that we manufacture that's very authentic for noodle bars, particularly where originally came up with the idea. We have a pho and we also have a pork broth, but we use this Thai vegetable broth, which really is bold in flavor. And we took this bok choy cannelloni and just served it with the Thai vegetable broth. So all I did was, as I mentioned, cook the farro with a little of our mushroom base so that now I have a kind of a, and this is also, could also be a delicious cold salad as well. So the farro with the grilled vegetables, right, and a little bit of our vegetable base, a little bit of ginger, just a touch of ginger in there. I took our blanched leaves here and literally just rolled them up, almost like a dolmados or a glumpki, right? So just rolled them up, and then we just threw them in the combi oven for a couple minutes just to steam them. So then what I have is on the bottom, we took the other part of the bok choy that we didn't use, the non-leaf part, sauteed that with some carrots, and put that on the bottom of the bowl. We took our cannelloni on top, and then our hot Thai vegetable in our passport line broth, and then just garnish it with some fresh pea shoots. And so now we have a really wholesome, nutritious, healthy, very low calorie, a light dish that can be served on its own as is, or it certainly can be, like I mentioned, as a base for a fish dish or a chicken dish, but very simple. So it could be a cold salad, but also this case we served it warm with the bok choy leaves and then the broth, I think, which really adds a lot of flavor as well. It's good, isn't it? I love that broth. Is like my morning tea. I just heat that broth up and then just sip it all morning, and it's really umptious.
I love the bok choy idea, and it's not kale.
No, it's not kale, right?
Right? It's the new old kale.
Right? So it really went well with the, imagine a piece of miso glazed sea bass on top of that dish is really a nice dish. So that's our 4 demos and our 4 demo plates that you can come up here, and some of our sauces up here too that we used, and we can get some more sample sauces out. And so while we do that, we're going to take some questions or talk a little bit about the next couple of courses, and we're going to put out a buffet, and we're good on time, right, Bo?
Yeah, definitely. All the plots you're sampling here are available through distribution, so if you would like a sample, just talk to Barb or just talk to the rep, and we'll definitely be able to get you a sample over. So we did on purpose to make sure that, we have custom capabilities as well too, custom culinary, but we also have a wide variety of products that are on trend, that make sense based on what consumers want to see, and that are so different. Marinades, topical sauces, reticulated products, and
Yeah, I think our breadth of our line is interesting because we, everything from Asian broths right to batters. So think about anything that you can put into our giant kettles. Our factory, our plant in Avon, Ohio, is literally like a giant kitchen with giant 40,000-pound soup kettles. So when we cook our sauces, we cook them with culinary in mind. We cook them as if we were chefs. Our plant folks that are working on the kettles are actually cooks. We call them cooks because although they're making things in 40,000 pounds at a time, they're taking the fresh raw ingredients and they're adding them into these large kettles. And we're going through the whole process of sweating, of reducing, of adding flavors in at different stages of our production, and then putting them into a bag. So that process of once they come out of those kettles and go through our quick chiller baths and are pumped into different size bags, whether they're 1 pound, 2 pound, 8 pounds, 6 pounds. We can do fairly large up to a half dice particulates. We can do anything that's wet through those. But we also, in some of our other locations, have the capabilities, bless you, to do some dry spices and things like our kimchi spice. It's also nice to have some of our folks from Griffith here, who's our parent company and a global leader in breading and coating systems, which we just really kind of, from a culinary perspective, had a great innovative conference with those guys and gals to be able to understand how we can all work together in symmetry. I mean, basically, we can be all your needs. We can be the breading coating system and the marinating and brining and saucing system for any kind of protein or any kind of vegetable type dish you want. And sometimes we always forget that the whole batter system that we have too, which is a wet product, can be utilized in a lot of different applications and unique as well. So while you're finishing up tasting that cannelloni, that bok choy cannelloni, we're going to build two last hot dishes. And the chefs behind me are putting together a banh mi version. We call it a bulgogi steak sandwich, so it's kind of a retro steak sandwich. You won't find this in Philly, but you might. Yeah, there's no Cheese Whiz on it. No, there's no number 10 can with a ladle of Cheese Whiz. Although I would go for Robert's pork and green and rapini sandwich any day of the week. If you ever been to the market in downtown Philadelphia, which is like a food hall, you got to get Robert's pulled pork. Not pulled pork. It's like roasted Italian roasted pork and greens sandwich. But this is a version where we took our bulgogi marinade. Great marinade, great product. Skirt steak overnight. That's it. Poured the bag over the skirt steak, marinated overnight, grilled it, sliced it. We're serving it on a French baguette, very typical Vietnamese style. And then we took from the Vietnamese the kind of the banh mi build. So we made a bibimbap mayonnaise. We took our bibimbap sauce, which is very gochujang forward, added it to mayonnaise. So on the bottom of that sandwich, you're going to have the bibimbap mayo. Then our cooked skirt steak marinated in the bulgogi. And then on top of that, typical carrot and daikon radish pickle, which is a garnish typically on any kind of a banh mi. And then our traditional lettuce salad. So most banh mi shops, you'll see that combination of mint, Thai basil, cilantro, and parsley mixed together as a fresh herb. And then the top, and we'll slice it, and we'll put them on platters, and we'll set them right over here on our buffet station. The second one that we're going to do, and we mentioned earlier, is our delicious sweet heat Korean wing sauce. It's got a lot of really, really pronounced umami flavors and sweetness on fried chicken. So we're going to drop some fried chicken wings in there, and we're going to have some of that that we garnish with toasted sesame seeds and green onion. And we've also got a little bit of a pineapple mango relish that we can serve with that, made with our new orange habanero sauce. So while we're working on those two things, I'll talk to you a little bit about the last two items, our two desserts that were really fun. And then I'm done. Stand up, stretch, have another beverage, and we'll throw some food out there. Any questions you can ask me. I'm here, Barb's here, Bo's here, Kim's here. But we want to thank you for being here, and hopefully we got this through painlessly and pretty quickly. And you are all now signed up for our timeshare. before you leave in Cancun that you don't know about yet, but I'll see you there because I'll be the bartender on the beach. But our 2 desserts that we did. Kind of a fun play on some of our sauces. The one is and we thanks Barb to going to the Mexican market this morning, getting us some fresh churros. Churros with a Mexican chocolate sauce. So we took a little bit of a play on the traditional Mexican chocolate sauce, and we added our orange habanero sauce into the chocolate sauce. So it's got a really nice sweet chocolate flavor with a little bit of heat in it, and I also just put a little bit of cardamom in there. So it's really fairly authentic Mexican chocolate sauce with churros. So you're going to have the hot chocolate sauce with churros for dessert out here. And then I made a tres leches parfait. So I took traditional tres leches cake and then soaked it in sweetened condensed milk, heavy cream, and regular milk, a little cinnamon, and we put those in a parfait glass with our lemon curd. We do a lot of fruit curds. Our lemon curd is actually one that we commercialize and is available now, and it's a great, great, very clean product. It's really super nice for parfaits. It's nice for dessert. So on top of in the parfait glass, those diced chunks of tres leches cake that have been soaking now for a couple hours in that delicious tres leches 3 milks. I put the lemon curd straight out of the bag. We didn't do anything to it. The cold lemon curd, and then a little bit of lime zest and some fresh mint. So we're going to set those up on the buffet station, and we're going to get the sandwich and the wings out there in a couple minutes. And that's it. Is there any questions so far on any of the things that you saw? Was it interesting? Did you get an idea? Did you spark something today? Okay, good. That was our goal. I mean, I know that you work through that every day in your own internal innovations, but we hope because we're great partners and you're great partners with us that we can spark a little bit new ideas and at the same time give you a chance to look at some of our new sauces, some of our new platforms. So with that said, we're going to bring out we'll bring out the desserts, and feel free to reload on water or cocktails, and I can let Bo kind of wrap it up.
Perfect. Thanks again so much for taking time in your schedule to participate. The welcome drink that you guys have is in a little gift bag in front of you as a little token of our appreciation.
Just take them off the trays.
I see the food going out